Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Judges, the 19th chapter, which here we're dealing with a interesting situation, event that took place in Israel, which ended up leading to a natural, let's say like a civil war to a degree between the tribes and Benjamin. So as we went through in Judges, the 18th chapter, dealing with the Danites seeking out, some more land, all right, upon which they end up taking over Laish, which is up north by Naphtali. And it came to pass in those days that there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain, or when there was no king in Israel, that there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. And his concubine played the whore against him, so she committed adultery, and went away from him on to her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there 4 whole months. So after doing that, she basically left and went back to her hometown, and for 4 months she was there. So eventually the Levite, decides, all right, he's just going to go there, right? Verse 3, and her husband arose, being the Levite, and went after her to speak friendly unto her and to bring her again. So he wanted to be reconciled back to her, willing to forgive her trespass. Having his servant with him and a couple of asses, and she brought him into her father's house. So when he went there, she brought him to meet her father. And the father of the damsel, and when the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him, so he was glad. And his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him, and he abode with him 3 days. So they did eat and drink and lodged there. And it came to pass on the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart. So the Levite was ready to go back now. And the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread. So it's okay. Why don't you have something to eat first? And afterward go your way. And they sat down and did eat and drink both of them together. For the damsel's father had said unto the man, be content, I pray thee, and tarry all night, and let thine heart be merry. So, you know what, you're having such a good time, why don't you just stay one more day? And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him, therefore he lodged there again. So getting to the evening, he's about to go, the pops is like, oh no, you just stay one more night. And so he stays there again one more night. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart. And the damsel's father said, comfort thine heart, I pray thee. And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat, both of them. And when you can imagine, not like in any malicious intent, right? But more like, as it's time to go, he's like, oh, wait, hold on. Why don't you have some of this? We're almost done preparing lunch. Why don't you eat some lunch and then we'll go. And then they eat lunch and then they're talking and then before you know it, time has passed and it's late. And he's like, it's already late. Why don't you just spend the night and then tomorrow you go? So this is kind of going on for a couple of days now. And the Levite is like, all right, I gotta actually now go. And when the man arose to depart, and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, said unto him, behold, now the day draweth towards evening. I pray you, tarry all night. Behold, the day groweth to an end. Lodge here. So it's already starting to get late. Why don't you just spend the night here, right? And that thine heart may be merry. Spend one more night with us. And tomorrow get you early on your way, that thou mayest go home. Because it's better to travel in the day than in the night. So why don't you just spend the night here, spend one more night, and then you can go tomorrow morning. But the man would not tarry that night. He said, oh no, I gotta go. It's been like, 5 days already? But he rose up and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is in which is in Jerusalem, or which is Jerusalem. Now remember, at this point, um, Jebus, which later on became known as Jerusalem, was still under the hand of the Jebusites. So it was heathen run, or heathen owned, you could say. So as they're traveling back up north to Ephraim, I wonder if it'll show on here. Okay, this is not a bad map actually. So they're traveling up north from wherever they were here in Judah, Bethlehem, Judah, so maybe down here. And they're traveling up north to Jerusalem, or Jebus, which is heathen owned at this point in time. Verse 11, or actually, let me see. And there were with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine also was with him. So there's Levite, his servant, his concubine, his asses. He's traveling. And when they were by Jebus, the day was far spent. And the servant said unto his master, Come, I pray thee, and let us turn into this city of the Jebusites and lodge in it. So it's already dark. Why don't we just rent, just spend a day, spend a night, in this city here, and then we can go on the next morning. And his master said unto him, We will not turn aside hither into the city of a stranger. So those are heathens in there, and we're not going to spend the night in a heathen city that is not of the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah, because now they're already technically in the territory of Benjamin. So he's saying, well, we'll just head on to Gibeah, which is we know that is of one of the tribes of Israel. They dwell there. And he said unto his servant, Come, and let us draw near to one of these places to lodge all night, in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them when they were by Gibeah, which belongeth to Benjamin. So the sun set, and now is dark. And they turned aside thither to go in and to lodge in Gibeah. And when he went in, he sat him down in the street of the city. So this area is like the plaza. And you can imagine it's probably an area that typically in the daytime would be full. For there was no man that took them into his house to lodging. So nobody wanted to give them a place to stay. So they were just there at the street. But at this point, they were already in the city of Gibeah. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field at even, which was also of Mount Ephraim. And he sojourned in Gibeah. So he was originally from Ephraim, but he was living in Gibeah here, this old man. But the men of the place were Benjamites. So there was an old man who was originally from Ephraim, but he was living in Gibeah, which is basically where Benjamin was dwelling. So he was living among the Benjamites over there. And when he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the city of the street. So as he's coming back home, he turns his eyes and he sees, hey, there's a traveler over here. And the old man said, Whither goest thou? And whence comest thou? So what are you doing here? What's going on? Where are you going? Where are you from? And he said unto them, We are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence am I, which is from Mount Ephraim. And I went to Bethlehem, Judah, but I am now going to the house of the Lord, which is in Ephraim, right? Shiloh in Bethel, which is in Ephraim. So that's what it means. And there is no man that receiveth me to house. So we're traveling and we're trying to go back to Ephraim, but it's late right now, and nobody received us in, so we're just here. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me and thy handmaid, i.e., his concubine, and for the young man his servant, which is with thy servants, there is no want of anything. So, all we need is a place to stay, right? Like we already have enough. We have food for our asses. We have food for ourselves. And the old man said, Peace be with thee. Howsoever, let all thy wants lie upon me. Only lodge not in the street. So you know what? It's okay. You come on in. You're welcome to stay with me. Just don't stay out here. So he brought him into his house, and gave provender unto the asses, and they washed their feet, and did eat and drink. Now as they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial. So sons of Belial being like lowlives, right? Thugs, worthless, like scoundrels. So they basically pull up, as it says, beset the house round about. So they surrounded the house where the old man was and beat at the door. Boom, 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 boom. You open up, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. So they were really sons of Belial. They basically wanted him to bring the priest so they could sexually assault him. That's what it means by we may know him. Not that they want to play cards and go get a Starbucks drink with him. And the man, the master of the house, went out unto them, and said unto them, Nay, my brethren, nay, I pray you, do not so wickedly. Seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. So he's my guest. And, in ancient Israel, when you had a guest, they were like your responsibility, right? If anything happened to them under your roof, that was on you. So you had to really make sure that they were taken care of. So he's pleading with them not to do this. Behold, here is my daughter a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. But unto this man do not so vile a thing. So if anything, you can have my daughter and you can have his concubine, but just don't do this wickedness unto him. But the men would not hearken to him. So they weren't trying to hear that. No, 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 no. We said bring him out here. So the man took his concubine, being the Levite, and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her. So basically, when the Levite heard this, he just, grabbed up his concubine and said, you know what, here. So he basically, like, sent his concubine out there, and they end up taking the concubine. As it says here, and they knew her and abused her all the night until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. So they basically took her, and that whole night they were, gang abusing and sexually assaulting her, right, all that night. And when abuse, it doesn't mean like they were like, verbally harassing her. They were physically assaulting her, right, raping her. Now, when you go into the word here, right, that's what it means by know and abuse. When you go into the word abuse, ilal, right, it says to act severe with, or to act severely, to be severely dealt with. As it says, to deal ruthlessly, abuse by thrusting through, right? To insert, thrust, thrust in, thrust upon. So I'm pretty sure you get the message, right? But as it says here, by implication, in a bad sense, to overdo, maltreat, right? Pain, impose, abuse. So you can imagine what they were doing. Anyway, this is what they were doing, assaulting her all night. And then, as it says, until the morning. And when the day began to spring, they let her go. So, as the morning was coming, they eventually released her. Then came the woman in the dawning of the day, and fell down at the door of the man's house, where her Lord was, till it was light. So she basically collapsed at the doorpost. And her Lord rose up in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out to go his way. So in the morning, as the Levite was getting ready to leave, he opens the door, and he sees, right, and behold, the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house. So he sees his concubine collapsed over there, and her hand was upon the threshold. So she basically died, right, in that position, right? she was trying to open the door or whatever. And he said unto her, Up, and let us be going. But none answered. So as he's basically calling her, look, we gotta go. Ain't no response. So figured that she was dead. Then the man took her up upon an ass, and the man rose up and got him onto his place. So he took her dead body, put it on the ass, and then he basically went with his servant and just went back home. And what's also interesting here, right, is though, this was a wicked thing that the Benjamites did, very, very wicked thing. It's interesting because in the beginning of the chapter, it mentions that she played the harlot against him, right? And he was willing to forgive it. But here you can see that though messed up, it was still judgment of the Lord, that the Lord had her technically be put to death, but by a very, perverse means here, as you can see. There's just something that was interesting that I noticed in that. And I remember years ago when I read this, you read this, you're like, man, what the hell is up with these people, man? But, you read it again, you're like, you start to see more as you go through. In any case, he takes his concubine, her dead body at least. Verse 29, and when he was come into his house, he took a knife and laid hold on his concubine and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces. So he basically chopped her body up into 12 parts and sent her into all the coast of Israel. And it was so that all that saw it said, there was no such deed done, nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt on to this day. Consider of it, and take advice, and speak your minds. So when he sent, obviously, the body, he sent the message with it, that so this is basically what has happened. And when they heard that, along with seeing this, they were all like appalled and shocked, like, what the hell? Which is crazy. Like, this is, the first of anything, if I've heard of it. And that brings us to the end of the book of Judges, the 19th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.